have you with us rolling into the weekend of the Houston Open. Ready to roll here on a Saturday morning. Thanks to our friends at Insperity. Visit Insperity.com for a powerful HR solution with exceptional fall through. Charlie, how are you this morning?
The boys are in town, aren't they?
Yeah, they sure are, Charlie. Number 1 and 2 this week.
It's exciting. It's a dream come true for Jim Crane, the owner of the Houston Astros, who stepped up and really saved our tour event when Shell left town and took over the tournament and decided to move it to the city golf course, Memorial Park. And like Jim, everything that he touches turns to gold. Been very successful in his life, and he has put Houston on the map.
Golf Club of Houston was a place that, near and dear to your heart. You helped develop, the great complex of Golf Club of Houston that the University of Houston now utilizes. But you've been pretty happy with this transition to Memorial Park, haven't you?
Yeah, as long we had to save professional golf. This is the fourth oldest golf tournament in on the PGA Tour, and we're a city of champions. The great Jackie Burke and Arnold Palmer and all of the greats played Memorial Park back in the day, back in the 30s and 40s. So much history is involved with it, and it's really improved the the city and the awareness of what a great city we are. So yeah, it's been fun to be part of it.
We're going to talk to Anita Siegel at 8:30. She's the vice president of marketing and communication for the Astros. We'll get all the latest tournament info from Anita and talk more about how this tournament has grown over the last 4 years. Of course, it was, Charlie, the Houston Astros that donated $15 million to this golf course. And, that goes a long way as far as course conditions and accessibility, considering, $35 for the resident to play and $10 for the junior golfer to play.
No, they've done it the right way, just like Torrey Pines out in California. The great golf course there that for the residents is at a different price, and as it should be, the people that support it day in and day out, and the budget for the tournament is helpful for the economy of the golf course, you might say. So it's a win-win situation.
World number one, Scotty Scheffler, and world number two, Rory McIlroy. Coming into Houston this week was the major headline. Scheffler rolls into the weekend with the lead at 11 under. Rory McIlroy, great back into his second round to make the cut. He's 4 under total going into the weekend and a tie for 29th. And Scheffler spoke pre-tournament about how thrilled he was to hear that it was easy for amateurs and juniors to access Memorial Park.
Well, I think it's a lot of fun. I think when I was a kid, if I could play a golf course that the pros were playing on, it would be pretty special. And so to come here to a public course where anybody can come and play is a lot of fun. And it's great to be here in Houston supporting this tournament, this event. And I'm definitely glad to be here.
Bogey free through the first 36 here at Memorial Park, Charlie.
To watch him is really an incredible joy of seeing an athlete swing a golf club. I mean, it's just incredible how well he does it, and how well I spent a lot of time watching him again yesterday. My good friend Randy Smith, who's taught him since he's 7 years old. He's just basically got the great fundamentals of the game. His grip. He's always making sure that his hands are on the club correctly for the intended shot. I think the amateurs can learn a lot from watching this young man swing the golf club. It's and you see the very little divot that he takes. His angle of attack into the golf ball is correct, but his the way to get his body out of the way to let the club come back to the left is second to none. I mean, he reminds me a lot of Jack Nicklaus. Very upright. He's a tall kid. He's 6'4".
Him and Ted Scott, just massive.
It really is, and he's got a great caddy.
Yeah,
and make a great team. So we're going to see a good weekend of golf.
He was flawless en route to that 8 under 62 yesterday. It was something I noticed again in round one. He shot 67, still played very well, only trailed by 3 going into the second round, but he missed quite a few greens in that first round. He rarely ever misses in the wrong place, Charlie.
That's exactly
Just
right.
such a great understanding of course management and how not to make, big numbers.
And the reason why is he's target oriented. He's into his target. He's got the great caddy that's giving him the support with the yardages, but he can visualize where he needs to get that ball. So in case he happens to miss it, it's still in good shape. You got to know where to miss it.
Yeah.
That's kind of an oxymoron, but he has really shown us how good he is, and he's setting himself up for another Masters.
Yeah, he is. Perfect timing. 2 weeks away. This is Scheffler's final start until the Masters tournament here in 2 weeks. That's world number one, and we'll get back to Scheffler. We'll talk a lot about him today. World number two, Rory McIlroy, is 4 under total and a tie for 30th. Rory was grinding on that cut line up until the 15th hole in the second round. He had to birdie 15, 16, and 17 to make it to the weekend. And two things with Rory. Number one, with how well Rory is playing, I think the last thing he would want is his Masters preparation week to be cut short by 2 rounds. And number two, I thought, yesterday was a great example of how important cut lines are to the PGA Tour. Scheffler was done yesterday morning. There was a rain delay in the afternoon. To have that headline there, Rory, really grinding it out to make it to the weekend, I thought was impressive.
I thought it was really neat to see Roy walk to the first tee and the amount of people that have come out to see him.
Yeah.
And how many more people get to see him because we're downtown Houston, and it's more convenient, and so there's more ladies, there's kids, the atmosphere is really wonderful, and I'm really proud of our city that really, Mayor Sylvester Turner was a friend of golf.
Yeah.
And he just passed away, and he wanted it to come to his city, and he helped Jim Crane get that done in the park system.
No, they're all out here to see Rory this weekend. I think there's going to be a lot of kids and fans who are excited to see him make it to the weekend. And he spoke pre-tournament about his thoughts on Memorial Park Golf Course. Rory hadn't been to Houston since I think 2013 when he finished 7th at the Houston Open at Golf Club of Houston. Here was Rory's thoughts on Memorial Park.
It's for the longer hitter, it's a perfect golf course. It sort of bombs away off the tee, and then it requires quite a bit of thought from the second shot in. So, like the green complexes are pretty, they're severe in areas, and you have to really think about where you want your second shot to be and where the miss is and a lot of the runoffs. But I think it'll, it's generous. It's generous off the tee, but then, second shots in, it really challenges you and challenges you to really think about where you want to place your ball after that.
It's really great today in the apps that we have that we can get the golf course layout on the on the computer and really get a up close and personal, from a bird's eye view of how they move their golf ball around each hole.
Yeah.
And I would recommend anybody that before you come out today, bring it up on your computer, and then you'll get an understanding because some of the angles the spectator has, you don't really see what the golfers have.
Yeah, no doubt. And Charlie, the green complexes at Memorial Park are much more challenging to see on TV. When you're there in person, the greens, for how long this golf course is, Charlie, it's the second longest golf course in the PGA Tour. There is a ton of runoffs. The greens are actually not that big for the irons that most of these players are coming in with.
Yeah, and it's a good challenge. And this is the first year they've really got a great overseed.
Yeah.
All the golf courses are beautifully green because of the ryegrass that they put down, and the greens have been overseeded, and it's really a beautiful golf course for the eye, but also for the playing of the ball.
Yeah.
You're really the rough is minimal, and so it's set up for a great golf tournament.
Yeah, the ball's sitting, it's sitting up beautifully all
Yes.
around the course. In previous years, especially when this tournament first came back to Memorial Park in the fall, you had some places around the greens that were a little burnt out. They hadn't overseeded up to that point.
Right.
This year, you can't catch a bad lie around
No.
this golf course.
No.
It is in perfect shape. And even pre-tournament, Charlie, Tony Finau and Scotty Scheffler, they said the conditions in which they have this course set up at is a perfect preparation week for the Masters tournament.
Yes, it really is. The quality of the shots that you hit off of this overseeded rye with the foundation that when they redid the golf course and they put in the modern day Bermuda, and the stands are so well positioned. So
Yeah.
it's really good.
Yeah, no, probably my favorite change this year to the course is, the par 3 ninth is such a great hole,
Oh my
to
God.
make the turn at. And last year on the left side, they just had these huge venue hopper grandstands where, not everyone could see what was going on that ninth hole, and they actually took the stands out. There's a ton of space in between 9 and 1. It's a great place to watch, big drives off one tee, the long, par 4 first, and also, the par 3 ninth, which, as far as par 3 is one of my favorite holes on the golf course. We got to take a quick break. This is the Charlie Epps Golf Hour. We'll be back on the other side with more Houston Open coverage.
You're listening to the Charlie Epps Golf Hour on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Powered by Insperity.
From the Veritex Community Bank Studios, here's Will Doctor and the Golf Doctor himself, Charlie Epps.
Amazing how easy they can play this golf course.
Okay, we gave you a rundown on the first 2 rounds at Memorial Park. As far as the 2 top players in the world are concerned, Scotty Scheffler in the lead at 11 under after rounds of 67, 62 Memorial Park Golf Course. He leads by 1 over Taylor Pendrith and Minwoo Lee. And Taylor Pendrith earned his first PGA Tour victory last year up the road at the Byron Nelson there at Craig Ranch. Pendrith, this is a great golf course for his game. Very long hitter, former President Cup member for the international team. And he's in solo second heading into tie for second alongside Minwoo Lee heading into the weekend. Pendrith shot back-to-back rounds of 65. We'll start the weekend, 1 back. Here was Pendrith's assessment on his game through 2 rounds.
It's been very solid today. Hit a lot of good shots with my irons and some wedges, and kind of did everything very, very solid today. Drove it nice again. Putter, missed a couple makeable ones, I think, but rolled in a few nice ones. So everything's been very solid.
Yeah, Charlie Pendrith doesn't say a whole lot, a little bit more of a quiet guy, but a ton of game. As I said, earned his lone PGA Tour victory last year at the Byron Nelson. He has 2 top 10 finishes and 8 starts this season at Torrey Pines and and Pebble Beach, and looking to become the second Canadian to win a PGA Tour event this year.
Was he on the President's Cup?
He was. He
And,
was.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're all of these guys are quality ball strikers. Their resumes are full. They're college kids going on into the professional ranks.
Yeah.
But when you get the conditions here, the range is beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Excuse me.
All the turf on the range, Charlie. It's
Yep.
it's unused for most of the year. They put a lot of the amateurs on the double decker range, which is fantastic. I
Yeah.
mean, you can have over 200 people at one time hitting on that range. And the list of chasers that are gonna try to dethrone Scotty this weekend. And once again, I don't think that happens. I think Scotty Scheffler has this tournament locked up. But you have major talent on his tail going into the weekend. Jackson Suber, an Ole Miss alumni, someone that a game that I really like. First year PGA Tour member, and he's playing well through 2 rounds at Memorial Park. Suber finished 6th in his first event of the season at the Sony Open, but hasn't finished better than 42nd in 6 events since. Here was the Ole Miss grad on adjusting to new golf courses on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to say it's hard, but at the same time, the last 2 weeks were kind of home tournaments for me, being in Jacksonville and having played Tampa and being from there, and didn't really perform well at those. And so to go play well at Sony at the beginning of the year, of course, that I've never played. I think it's kind of good golf is good golf, and I don't really have to. It doesn't really matter how much you've seen the course. If you're playing it good and hitting it good, then you're gonna play all right.
Charlie, how tough are these new golf courses for your typical rookie compared to, a Scotty Scheffler who's already seen this course 3 times, has never finished worse than top 10. Suber, he's got a tall mountain to climb this weekend.
Well, most of the PGA Tour, once you have your card, your resume is pretty full of playing good golf courses. So it's hard to fool them anymore. The college golfer turned professional has played a lot of these golf courses in their collegiate time. And also some of the guys aren't members of clubs. And so they can come to, the first golf course I came to when I drove into to Houston, Texas, was Memorial Park. That's where you go, you meet the pro, you find out, who does what to who, and it's just a great environment. And now with the addition of a double decker driving range and a beautiful putting green and a short game area, the Houston, municipal golfer has really a great place to play.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. And once again, we talked about the rates in the first segment, but $35 for the Houston resident to play, only $10 for the junior golfer to play.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of players have talked about it. We heard Scheffler in the first segment. If as a kid, if he would have relished the opportunity to play at a course where the PGA Tour travels to, and to have those kind of opportunities when golf is growing so fast, it's tough to get a tee time now, hardly anywhere. From Memorial Park to $10 for the junior golfer. Incredible.
Memorial Park, I would say for the last 100 years has played almost 30,000 rounds of golf. You start a year and all of a sudden you're playing a incredible amount of golf, but the superintendent and the staff here really keep it in good shape. And that's another thing that Jim Crane has brought to the golf course. Now we're making more money. The other golf courses are benefiting from the Houston Open.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win situation.
Let's take a look at where the favorites are at the Texas Children's Houston Open. Obviously, Scotty Scheffler started the week as a 4-1 favorite. Heading in here 2 weeks before the Masters. He's already the favorite at the Masters at I think around 4-1 now. And Scheffler is in the lead going into the weekend at 11 under. Here was Scheffler comparing his round 167 to his round 262.
Well, yesterday was challenging in a sense of the changing conditions. So you had rain and wind, and the wind direction was changing as well. So there was a lot of challenges out there today. Golf course is playing a bit easier just based on the weather conditions, and it can be challenging in a sense of like any like when the conditions are that good, guys are going to be shooting low. And so it was important for me to stay patient out there. And, it was nice to get off to a good start and kind of hold the momentum and keep a clean card.
What can the amateur learn from the way, not only Scheffler, but all these players navigate through, 35 mile per hour gusts and windy conditions?
Well, I still think the tempo, timing, and rhythm that is required to play this caliber of golf, the amateur that's watching golf today, it should be paying attention to the style of these golf swings that these players have developed, and that they're like, you know. Nicholas always said, Bobby Jones always said, let there be no sense of hurry. Take the backswing, take your time taking the club back, get the club set, take your time turning the transition to get down to the golf ball, and watch their footwork. Watch Scotty's footwork, which is a little over the top, but that's his style. He reminds me a lot of Tom Weiskopf for a tall golfer that has the elegant golf swing that's really wide and has width to it, and it's so much fun to watch.
Is the majority of work in Scheffler's golf swing coming from arm speed, or is it with what he's doing with his lower body?
Well, it's we have a saying in teaching, the golf swing starts from the ground up. So you got to, number one, have a good pair of shoes on.
Yeah.
No, number two, you got to have the proper width of the stance, and that's a critical thing. A lot of amateurs, their stances are too narrow, and they're too far from the golf ball. So you got to adjust that with good instruction. You'll get more consistent in hitting the golf ball and hitting it in the middle of the face of the club.
So that's Scheffler. He's in the lead at 11 under, in command, rolling into the weekend. Rory McIlroy was your second favorite at 7-1, and Rory's in a tie for 30th at 4 under after rounds of 70, 66. He was Rory after round 2.
I mean, I hit it a little better coming in. I held a couple of putts. That was it. Again, it's the sort of golf course where it's easy to just make a ton of pars. Not a lot of trouble out there. But you just need some putts to go in to obviously make birdies, and started back off the suspension with a 3-putt par on the 8th hole, and hit some better shots coming in, and it was nice to see a couple putts go in and get finished, and obviously get a couple more rounds here over the weekend.
Yeah, they weren't sure if he was going to finish in the dark yesterday.
Right.
They thought he might have to come out early this morning, finish out his second round. Like a lot of players are.
Well, the pros have a clock on them in the evening, and you're on the last 4 or 5 holes. You pick up the pace to make sure that you don't have to come back in the morning to make a day on Saturday a lot longer than it needs to be. So it's great to have Roy in the city. I hope he likes the golf course. This is a golf course that can prepare you to play at Augusta. I really think that. So it's thank you, Jim Crane.
Yeah, yeah. And you've had players who had to finish this morning climbing up the leaderboard. Ryan Gerard is a first-year PGA Tour member out of North Carolina. He's 5 under through 14, finishing up his second round and 1 shot off of Scheffler. So we'll keep an eye on that. We talked about Rory. He was the second favorite. Aaron Rai was your third favorite at 28-1. He missed the cut at 1 over. JJ Spawn, who was contending at the Players a couple weeks ago, he was your fourth favorite at 35-1. He is likely going to miss the cut after rounds of 71, 67, put him at 2 under. A 3 under cut line this week, Charlie, is what it's looking like.
Well, it's because of Friday's weather. It wasn't really that challenging, but the next couple guys you see on the leaderboard, it's the Angel Cabrera effect. When Angel won his majors, and back then the Latins didn't have somebody they can relate to. Well, Nico Echevarria, who went to Arkansas, he shot 29 on the front side yesterday, and then right next to him is one of the characters of golf is Toasty. He really adds a little flavor to the game. I hope that people go out and watch Alejandro Toasty play today. They'll see a good golf swing, and he'll try some shots he shouldn't, but he's learning.
And a fighter, Charlie. I mean, he was one over
Yeah.
through 11 holes when they pulled him off the golf course last night. He's come out this morning and birdied 4 of his first 5 holes. Puts his round at 3 under and 8 under for the championship. He's in a tie for 5th, but hits it a mile, and only 5'8", 5'9".
Yeah.
Another guy that uses the ground so well in his golf swing. But you're exactly right. A great Argentine in Toasty.
And he went to Florida, to university to learn his and he couldn't afford a car, so he bought a used motor scooter, and he put the motor scooter together himself. He comes from a family of engineers, and it's in a city called Rosario, which is not too far from Buenos Aires, but he's a character. And I enjoy him and watching him. So, and then Grigio is here also. So,
He is.
there's not, the Latins are coming, everybody.
Yeah, Grillo's at 5 under for the championship and a tie for 19th. So commendable start after rounds of 68, 67. I saw on Smiley Kaufman's happy hour last night. He was doing his happy hour in the clubhouse, and your friend Roger Clements got on to do an interview with him, and had on all of his Insperity gear. And we're fortunate enough here this morning. This show wouldn't be possible without the great people at Insperity.
Boy, we know that's for sure. That's a company that was established in 1986 right here, almost in Houston, up in Kingwood, and it has grown into a giant HR company that has so many people that are can help small businesses succeed. And if you have a small business and you want some help, they can bring a lot of things to the table where a small business can't get to, and that's what it's all about. But human resources in today's world is so important, and you got to know how to treat your people right. You got to know how to treat your customers right, and Insperity has done that. You've met all the kings of Insperity, starting with Paul Sarvati.
Yeah, Paul Sarvati, Steve Arisby.
And they have a philosophy, and it's one of the best companies to work for in Houston, Texas. So Insperity is a company, and I love what they say. They want communities to prosper, so because that way small businesses will build a city. And Lord only knows we've got over 10,000 restaurants in Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
And that's small business, and they run our economy. Of course we got a few oil companies,
But go check
anyway.
out Insperity's box. They're right off the 17th hole this week, as well as many other small businesses who contribute towards the Texas Children's Houston Open. Insperity.com is where small business owners can go to get the best HR performance possible.
And their tournament's coming up.
It sure is.
End of April.
That's right. The Insperity Invitational.
Invitational.
Mr. Nicholas, Mr. Player, Mr. Trevino.
Everybody.
You'll be on the range with all of them, Charlie.
That's right.
Love watching you guys.
Trevino.
Yeah, you and Lee talk on the range for at least 3 hours every year.
I listen. I don't talk when I'm with Lee. Lee is just ongoing.
Would you say that's your favorite player of all time?
Well, he's one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, he came from nothing, and the first tournament he won was the U.S. Open.
Incredible. We'll look forward to seeing him, and the media day for the Insperity Invitational is this Tuesday.
Yes.
We'll see last year's champion Scott Dunlop.
Scott,
1999 Argentine Open winner.
Isn't that something?
How about that?
He loves wine.
4-time Peru Open winner too, Charlie. He made his way around.
Yeah,
South American swing.
I've been to them all, but I haven't won any.
All right, on the other side, Anita Siegel will join us. She's the Executive VP of Marketing and Communications for the Houston Astros. Back after this.
The Charlie Epps Golf Hour, powered by Insperity, continues
On ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Will Doctor and Charlie Epps.
We now head over to the guest line and welcome in Executive Vice President of Marketing and Communications for the Houston Astros. Anita Siegel joins the show this morning. Anita, congratulations on such a great week so far, not only with the Houston Open, but also opening day. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. I have had my cup of coffee, and we're ready for an incredible day, another great day of golf, and another great day of baseball.
Anita, how advantageous is it for the Houston Astros to have the PGA Tour in town on the same weekend as opening day?
You know what? I think it's wonderful. It's wonderful for Houstonians because they really put Houston on such a national and global stage. From a golf perspective, it's 2 weeks before the Masters. So it's an incredible opportunity to get guys like Rory and Scotty and, you know, if you look at our field, Tony Finau and Wyndham Clark and just all of these incredible golfers to come and play in Houston. And we had Tony Finau throwing out the first pitch yesterday. So to also showcase the Mets and do them both together, it's really pretty amazing for the city.
Anita, this is Charlie Epps, and I go to congratulate you and Jim Crane and all of the Astros are behind golf, and that really helps your charity, your Texas Children's Hospital. Tell us a little about that.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if most people know this, but almost every PGA Tour event is run by a 501c3. So when Jim Crane said, we're going to save this tournament, we're going to keep PGA Tour golf in the heart of the city, he did it in two ways. One, he helped raise $34 million to renovate this beautiful city municipal course. And then secondly, we were able to find this incredible sponsor in Texas Children. So all of the net proceeds of this tournament go to help the Astros Foundation give back to the community of Houston.
Anita, you know, one of the big topics that's been discussed, and world number one Scotty Scheffler applauded the golf course for it, but the fact that the rates for the Houston resident still $35 to play, and for the junior golfer it's only $10. How important is it to maintain that? And I know that's more of a golf course question, but you know, it's got to be something that the Houston Astros are very proud of.
Yeah, you know what? That was really critical. So outside of Torrey Pines, Memorial Park Golf Course is the only the second municipal course that hosts a PGA Tour event. And when Jim had the vision to bring it back to the heart of the city, he really wanted to make sure that all of the renovations we did to the golf course made it accessible for Houstonians all year long, even outside of the tournament time. So it's not just the course itself that's playable, but the driving range, we invested a lot of money in. That driving range brings almost double what it did before to the city, so Houstonians can come and use it all the time. And the STEM Center, so the Players Clubhouse, is actually an education center for the first tee of Houston. Chevron helped us with it. So you turn those lockers the other way, and they're all whiteboards for classrooms. So Houstonians can play the course for a very, very affordable price. Kids can come and learn about the game of golf. We built a first tee facility and a putting green and everything for kids to learn. And we rebuilt the driving range. We rebuilt the tennis court. So everything in Memorial Park is just so much more accessible all year round because of this tournament and because of James Crane's vision to bring it back to the heart of the city.
And you can get a good hamburger too here. That's a great place to come for lunch. Hamburger and fries.
You know, Beck's is almost as iconic as the golf course itself. You're right. Those milkshakes are pretty good too.
Well, you know, the family that donated the land for the park way back when in the 30s, Mrs. Hogg, they really did a great thing for Houston. And now to see that a gentleman like Jim Crane comes by with a great vision to to use it for a worldwide golf tournament. That gives us exposure to all over the world, and that just helps business. Is
It does, and it starts with whether it's the mayor or the conservancy or there's so much energy by Houstonians to really bring economic development to Houston. And so you think about it, we've got this world-class PGA Tour event. We've got the Astros that are competing every year. I mean, U of H won. The Rockets are heading to the playoffs, but then you also see World Cup coming, and the Astros are going to host World Baseball Classic. Anything we can do to continue to bring these world-class sporting events to Houston is just great for the city.
Yeah.
The sports authority, the mayor, everybody is focused on making sure we continue to do that.
And we have a great soccer club too that's bringing. Soccer is such a great game.
Well, what they're doing there, especially to help the Dynamo and Dash as
Yes.
we head into a World Cup year next year, is going to be excellent.
There's going to be too many people in Houston.
Well, we're pretty proud as Houstonians. We love showing off our beautiful city.
Yes, ma'am.
Anita, looking back to 2019, and I hope I have this number right, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but, the Astros Golf Foundation, spent $15 million to renovate Memorial Park and get it ready to host the Houston Open and improve the golf course for the general public. And I'm just wondering back then, now in 2025, we have world number one Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy on property. The Houston Open has a great date 2 weeks before the Masters. But back in 2019, I think there was some uncertainty with the dates this tournament would fall, and would it be a fall event? Would it be a spring event? I imagine now the satisfaction with that investment is through the roof. Is that correct?
Yeah, your insight's spot on. There was always the vision to play this tournament in the spring. And when Jim stepped in to save it, Shell had stepped away, and the PGA Tour had already given the date away. They were fully prepared for tour golf to not be in Houston. So we had to have the fall date originally. But every conversation that Jim had with the tour was that we wanted to get this tournament back to the spring. So we knew we needed a year to get the course in appropriate shape and to get Memorial Park golf course to meet all the standards, both for ourselves and for the tour. So we played the first couple of years in the fall. We got that date back sooner. So in 2022, I don't know if you remember this, but we kicked off tournament week on parade day, and we ran that tournament, and then we skipped 23 because we got the spring date. So we didn't play in the fall of 22, and then the spring of 23. We took the 23 season off so that we could get the spring date. So last year was our first year in the spring, and we're not giving up that slot now.
Well, Anita, we appreciate your time this morning, and your insights are just incredible. We hope you enjoy the rest of the weekend at the Texas Children's Houston Open, and have a great season as far as the Houston Astros is concerned. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you, Anita.
Thank you both. We hope to see you at the course or at the ballpark sometime soon.
You
Take
got
care,
it,
guys.
Once again,
Bye-bye.
that was Anita Siegel, Executive Vice President of Marketing and Communications for the Houston Astros. In case you missed that interview, you can find it at the conclusion of the show at the Charlie Epps Golf Hour on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. In the last segment coming up, we will hear from more of the chasers. Gary Woodland is in a tie for fifth heading into the weekend. Not only does Scotty Scheffler work with famed Dallas coach Randy Smith, Gary Woodland also uses him, talked a lot about the confidence that Randy is instilling in his golf game. We'll also hear from Danish superstar Rasmus Højgaard and Keith Mitchell on what needs to happen this weekend for him to get in the tournament. We'll also hear a little bit more from Scotty Scheffler on his good putting through 2 rounds at the Houston Open. This is the Charlie Epps Golf Hour presented by Insperity. Back after this.
This is the Charlie Epps Golf Hour on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Powered by Insperity.
Now from the Veritex Community Bank Studios, here's Will Doctor and the golf doctor himself, Charlie Epps.
All right, one more to go here on the Charlie Epps Golf Hour. This is my Insperity HR that makes a difference. Great to have Anita Siegel join us in the third segment. She's the Executive VP of Marketing and Communications for the Houston Astros. And once again, in case you missed that interview, you'll be able to find it here at 9 a.m. Central on the Charlie Epps Golf Hour, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify page. Scotty Scheffler is your leader at 11 under. He's got the 36-hole lead. He is 6 for 15 lifetime in closing 36-hole leads. I would say going into this weekend, he's a minus 120 favorite. Plenty of outstanding, talented players who are going to be chasing him up the leaderboard this weekend. But world number one's looking good. No bogeys through 36 holes. It's the first time he's done that since the 2023 Amex. But Charlie, let's listen to a couple of these players who are going to be trying to climb up the leaderboard, trying to catch Scheffler this weekend, starting with Gary Woodland at 7 under par. He opened 69-64. Gary, obviously a great comeback story, coming back from a brain lesion about a year ago and came back about 6 months early.
You know who's Gary Woodland's teacher?
Randy Smith.
Randy Smith.
Also the coach of world number one.
Right. It was funny watching them yesterday and the day before. Randy standing between them. He looks one swing and then goes to the other
How good
swing.
is that?
But that just shows you
it's amazing more players don't use Randy. You think his schedule?
He's got quite a few.
Okay.
I mean, you can only do so many.
Yeah.
That's a
Ryan Palmer too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ryan's going through some problems with the golf swing, but Gary Woodland's an interesting situation. I mean, here's a kid that his tournament win is the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach, and he really was starting to really go, and then he has this horrible brain tumor come his way, and thank God for all the great surgeons and they get him through this, and so now he's back playing again. It's one of them. I think it's a miracle. I'm so happy for him, and he's a big guy, and you talk about power. Holy cow!
This course sets up for him well.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
That was nice. I needed that. I haven't had a run like that. I birdied 3 in a row yesterday and kind of got excited because I haven't done that. And then birdie 6 out of 7 there in the middle and the only par I had was a 3-putt for par. So it was nice. I've been knocking on the door for a little while, and it's nice to see some results. It's my coach Randy's been telling me I have all the tools and it's coming. I just got to stay patient, and finally, nice to see some results.
Charlie, he started on 10 yesterday, and he was even par through 10 holes. He makes the turn. He birdies 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 to shoot a 6 under 64 and get it to 7 under. It's a special round.
It's it's what golf is all about. Once he's working so hard, and all of a sudden you get the right putt at the right time, and you get some momentum, and all of a sudden he's a winner. So he gets 1 birdie, 2 birdies. Like he said, he hadn't had this string of success.
Yeah.
And that what happened yesterday really, he needed that.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that it happened here in Houston. And it'll be interesting that they have a great weekend here in Texas. So
4 shots back. He's in this golf tournament.
yeah, he is. Yeah.
Charlie, putting, such a major, Gary talked about it, a lot of other players, the experiment, with the putting, whether it's grip, whether it's putter, you talk to some new guys on the block at Lab Golf, Lab Putters this week.
Yes.
As far as what you're seeing from Scheffler, he's not, with Lab, but, going to the Claw and some of these other putters you're experimenting with. I mean, what are some new things you're finding?
Well, the success of a good putter is his practice. If he has that, it's kind of like going to a basketball player going to the gym and making 100 free throws every day, every day, every day. That gets that repetition in. And so now with the beautiful putting green we have here at Memorial Park, the guys are out there putting, and it's just like the greens on the golf course. So it's practice, and like my favorite story is being able to play golf with Tom Landry, the great golf football coach for the Dallas Cowboys. And I asked him, I said, "Now, Coach, how come you win so much? What's your secret?" He says, "Charlie," he says, "I convinced my guys that they're only going to play as good on Sunday as they practice on Wednesday. So you got to have good practices that accomplish what you want, and you see that ball rolling in the hole over and over and over again. So practice makes perfect."
With the Masters coming up,
Yes.
and some of our listeners traveling to Augusta, I was reminded once again this week, Charlie, that practice rounds, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, are the best time to go out there. You see the
Yes.
caddies with their books out. They're plotting out where the player can miss, where he can't miss. You see a couple players playing some money games. It's just a little better insight to their preparation,
What's fun,
rather than the
what's
competitive
fun is to
rounds.
be there on Monday and you watch all the patrons watching nothing because
Yeah.
but the beauty of the golf course is worth the visit.
Yeah.
But yes, the golf course is where this huge. I mean,
The practice rounds.
the practice
Yeah.
round is you get to play on the golf course, and it's magnificent.
Let's hear from a couple of the other chasers going into the weekend. Rasmus Højgaard is a player who came over from the DP World Tour. Danish sensation. His twin brother Nikolai also plays on the PGA Tour, and they were paired together over the first two rounds of this golf tournament. Højgaard will start the weekend four back of Scheffler at 7 under. Here was Højgaard after rounds of 66, 67 to start the week.
Yeah, it was tough for me today. I hit it bad off the tee. Obviously got lucky quite a few times with not being lost balls. But yeah, I managed to hit. I felt like my approach game was decent today, and obviously putting has been saving me these 2 days. So yeah, I have some work to do on the range this afternoon, but I'm looking forward to the weekend.
Yeah, Højgaard wasn't the only one on the range after his round. After world number one Scotty Scheffler shot a bogey-free 8 under 62, he hit balls for 2 hours on the range after.
That's it, practice. But we haven't touched on last week's winner.
Oh, Victor Hovland. That's right.
How about that victory? That was the Valspar over in just north of
Tampa.
And he came out victorious, but his attitude is really different.
How about it, Charlie? I mean, he's been hitting, ball striking it well here really for the majority of the start of the season, but he couldn't feel any more uncomfortable about the bottom of his golf swing. And his putting and his short game can be a little streaky, but he rolled it, and chipped it very well, around Innisbrook last week. I think that was the difference. And what a finish, birdied 3 of his last 5 to beat Justin Thomas.
The victory was the 16th hole, that very difficult dogleg right par 4, where there's really not too much room to fit a driver in there. And I think Justin Thomas lost a little of his frustration and just said, "Oh, give me a driver. I'll hit it in there." And he hit it in the trees and made bogey. And Victor stood up there with an iron and hit it into a place where he had a second shot. And he hit that shot, 8 feet and made birdie. I mean, that won him the tournament. But interesting gentleman. I've never been around him to really know him that well, but he can really hit the golf ball.
You know who was asked about it last night? Padraig Harrington is in the field at the Houston Open, and Golf Channel had him on the broadcast and asked him about Victor Hovland, and he might be, someone who can kind of guess what Victor is thinking. But, he said, Padraig said after he won 2 majors, he was messing with his swing for the rest of his career. And he thought by working on different things, he was becoming a better player. And he thought he could because, he was winning. And Padraig said that's just not the case. You can get in real trouble with your golf swing doing that.
I witnessed that. I witnessed Padraig on the range trying all sorts of different stuff, trying to get too good.
Yeah.
If there's such a thing. So you got to have a balance. And but that was a great tournament, and congratulations to Victor Hovland. He's from Denmark, is that right?
He's from Norway.
Norway.
Yeah, he's from Norway.
And there's not too many golf pros that come out of Norway.
No, there's not.
So,
incredible athlete, played his college golf at Oklahoma State. And Charlie, how about these 3 weeks, these 3 golf courses heading into the Masters? And we've only got about a minute left, but the Copperhead course at Innisbrook, Memorial Park here in Houston, and then TPC San Antonio next week, which is another grueling test.
And that's really a difficult golf course designed by Greg Norman, and so it's a challenge, but these guys seem to somebody gets hot to win the tournament. So I've spent a lot of time at Innisbrook. That's where I started my teaching career with Golf Digest.
Oh.
And it's a beautiful facility.
Yeah.
I mean, and golf courses are very, very, they were built in the 50s, and they're very tight and very, very long.
Yeah.
So very challenging.
A lot of good sneaky elevation change too. I mean, especially on the North Course there. Yes. All right, we're out of time today. Charlie, great job. Everyone go enjoy the Texas Children's Houston Open this week, and I think we got some good weather coming up in the forecast. John Belmer behind the 1s and 2s, thank you very much. We'll see you next weekend midway through the San Antonio Open.
John, thanks a lot.